Atlanta, she is not the cheaper, easier version of somebody else's city. It has its own rules, and you need to know them before you pack a box. A smart move can give you Beltline weekends, Hartsfield Jackson access, more breathing room, and a real lifestyle upgrade. The wrong pocket can turn a great deal into a commute problem, a budget surprise, and a house that you liked online more than you liked your Monday through Friday. So, before you make the move, let's break down the Atlanta that most people do not understand until they are already here. Atlanta surprised me early. You cannot read this city from a map. I came in with that New York pace thinking distance was distance. And Atlanta, she gave me a quick reality check. Check the highway, check the clock, and check which side of 285 you're on. I've watched people fall for the kitchen, the yard, the home that they already decorated in their head. But when we talk through the life around it, the real move, it starts to reveal itself. Maybe your Saturday has coffee, sneakers and Beltline energy. Maybe you want a quiet Marietta Street where the trees do half of the decorating. Maybe Hartsfield Jackson needs to be close enough that catching a flight does not become a full-on emotional event. Atlanta gives you all of these choices. They just do not create the same life. Atlanta does not reward assumptions. She rewards strategy. Keep that lens in mind as we get into why people are still choosing this city in 2026. Why Atlanta in 2026 is pulling people in. Atlanta is not the consolation prize anymore. People are choosing it and with intention. According to the Atlanta Regional Commission, the 11-county Atlanta region added about 64,400 residents between April of 2024 and April of 2025. Quiet markets do not move like that. You can feel it in the airport, in the apartment to house conversations, and in the way people casually say, I just moved here. Like half the brunch table did not just move here. The U.S. Census Bureau tracks the bigger Sun Belt shift, but I hear the real story before anyone opens a chart. Someone wants their money to stretch into a better life, not just a tighter calendar, a smaller room, and another expensive compromise. I had a relocation conversation where the person started with the usual practical list: office, yard, guest room, garage, clean, reasonable, very spreadsheet friendly. But the more we talked, the real move came out. They were tired of clearing work papers off the dining table before dinner. Tired of family visiting and everybody living out of suitcases in the hallway. Tired of the dog crate becoming part of the decor because there was nowhere else for it to go. They did not just want a bigger house. They wanted their life to stop feeling like it was being folded into corners. That is when Atlanta starts to make sense. Not extra square footage, actual breathing room. United Van Line's latest migration study reported that about 54% of Georgia-related moves were inbound, and you can feel the range of people choosing Atlanta now. Remote workers, corporate transfers, entrepreneurs, investors, and people who want ambition without feeling boxed in. Mercedes-Benz has major presence here. Film, music, and entrepreneurship keep the room interesting. People are not just chasing a cheaper address. They are looking for a place where ambition, lifestyle, and breathing room can exist in the same sentence. Atlanta is not winning because it is the lowest cost option. It is winning because people can see a version of their life here that feels bigger, sharper, and more flexible than what they were trying to force somewhere else. If you are thinking about moving to Atlanta and you're trying to figure it out, which area, commute, lifestyle, or price point that actually makes sense for you, this is exactly what my team and I help people with every day. I'm Kara, a local Atlanta realtor, and I know that moving here can feel exciting and overwhelming at the same time because this city is so much bigger and more nuanced than people expect. So if you have questions about neighborhoods, traffic, schools, pricing, new construction, or just where to even begin, reach out to my real estate team and me. You can call us, text us, or send us an email using the information below. Even if you are still early in the process, we are happy to help you make the smart decisions and point you in the right direction so you can feel confident about your move to Atlanta. The real lifestyle of Atlanta: city energy, suburban calm, and everything in between. Atlanta can make two people feel like they moved to completely different cities, and both of them can be right. You can stop at Ponce City Market for lunch and somehow end up on the roof, people watching, shopping, and wondering why you bought something that was absolutely not on the list. Over at Croc Street Market, you might see workout clothes, dinner outfits, a stroller tucked by a table, and a dog underneath acting like they signed a lease. Polished without being precious, social without requiring a reservation, a stylist, and a full security deposit just to leave the house. Across the metro, the Battery Atlanta brings a completely different rhythm. It can feel one way on a Saturday morning near Pont City Market with a tote bag and no real plan, and a completely different at night when the Battery is all lit up. The restaurants are packed, and the whole area feels like a mini city with better parking and way more people pretending that they just happened to dress that well. The range is not decoration, it changes how people actually live. The Beltline works more like everyday access: parks, food, movement, social time, and errands pulled closer together instead of scattered across your calendar like confetti. The Trust for Public Land reports that 85% of Atlanta residents live within a 10-minute walk of a park, and access matters because people use what feels easy. Metro Atlanta is now over 6 million people, so pretending there is one Atlanta lifestyle is where people get themselves twisted. One person wants trails, gym access, live music, and dinner close enough that leaving the house does not feel like a negotiation. Another wants older trees, a quieter street, and enough space to host without turning the living room into overflow seating. For another household, the Win is a pocket that acts like its own hub, where groceries, sports, a pharmacy run, and a weeknight meal do not require a clipboard and a backup plan. No single setup makes sense for everyone. Different rhythms fit different lives. Drop your favorite Atlanta lifestyle vibe in the comments. Are you Beltline energy, suburban calm, that kind of luxury and polished? Or you historic charm, or food and sports weekend mode? The tricky part is that two people can both say that they want Atlanta lifestyle and mean completely different things. Before you fall in love with the wrong version, you need to understand the invisible line that changes almost everything about how people live here. Where people are actually looking. Atlanta's map, our core areas, and how to choose your lane. Atlanta will let two homes look identical online and live nothing alike in real life. Same general budget, similar square footage, same Atlanta area label. One makes your week feel smooth, the other quietly charges you in time, gas, patience, and a little bit of your personality. Metro Atlanta is not a monopoly board where every square connects neatly. It is a lane system with consequences. Atlanta proper, in town, ITP, meaning inside the perimeter, OTP, meaning outside the perimeter, and the perimeter is I-285, the big loop around the city that sounds simple until people start using it like a dating profile. I'm OTP, but emotionally, I'm ITP. The data backs up what people feel every day. Location choice and commute strategy can change the experience just as much as the home itself. Around here, only 12 miles away can either mean easy or please pack a snack and update your ETA. The Atlanta Regional Commission projects the region could add roughly 1.8 million residents by 2050. So learning the layout is not extra credit. It is part of making a smart long-term move. When someone says, I want to live in Atlanta, the sharper question is, what kind of week are you trying to have? Because if work is pulling you towards Midtown, Buckhead, the Perimeter, or Cumberland, that creates one search. If space is pulling you toward Marietta, Lawrenceville, Roswell, or Alpharetta, that creates another. If you want access to job centers, hospitals, restaurants, shopping, and highways without living in the center of the city, places like Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, and Dunwoody may enter the conversation quickly. Those are not interchangeable searches. A buyer who needs a clean shot to Georgia 400 is not solving the same problem as someone trying to stay close to I-75 or I-85. A frequent traveler reads distance differently from someone working from home 3 days a week. Someone looking at renovation potential is playing a different game from someone who wants, let's say, newer construction, fewer contractor visits, and a house that does not come with a surprise relationship with a plumber. This is where people get themselves twisted. They search by house first, then they try to force the lifestyle to behave later. That is usually where the mismatch starts. Buckhead and Midtown are more about access, offices, condos, restaurants, late nights, and a plugged-in routine. Decatur, she brings a different rhythm. Local restaurants, older homes in certain pockets, and streets where the neighborhood identity is so much easier to feel. Marietta often starts the conversation for established streets, larger lots in certain pockets, and a Cobb County rhythm where errands, dinner, and weekend plans can still feel manageable. Lawrenceville has its own Gwinnett momentum, especially for buyers who want more room in many cases without feeling like they left the metro conversation completely. Roswell and Alpharetta, they lean more organized, spacious, and town center driven, while Smyrna and Peachtree Corners can make sense when road access matters, but nobody wants every errand to feel like they packed for a road trip. The loudest area online is not automatically the best move. And Atlanta may not be the right fit if you need every part of your life to happen inside a tight, walkable grid. Some pockets can give you that feeling, but the metro as a whole rewards people who are honest about driving, timing, and location trade-offs. The better fit is the one that matches your schedule, your habits, and the trade-offs you can actually live with. A person juggling office days, school drop-offs, and a clean shot to the perimeter reads the city differently from someone who, let's say, wants a yard, a guest room, and a space to host without rearranging the entire house. Someone renovating an older home in Decatur or Marietta is making a different decision from someone comparing new construction near, let's say, Lawrenceville, Alpharetta, or the areas people associate with the Avalon. This is not an HGTV reveal where the house solves everything in the last 5 minutes. A few miles can change your routine. One highway can change your mood. One exit can decide whether dinner feels easy or like you need snacks for the drive. So, before the house gets the final vote, learn the invisible Atlanta math. Location is not just where the home sits. It is how your life functions around it. And the next number in that equation is the one that everybody jokes about until Waze starts adding 6 minutes, then 9, then 13, and suddenly the group chat is asking if you're still coming. The positive truth about Atlanta traffic: your commute is a lifestyle filler. Atlanta traffic is not just traffic, it is geography timing, school schedules, work flexibility, and whether your daily routine actually matches where you decided to live. And this matters because Metro Atlanta is massive, with more than 6 million people spread across dozens of cities, business hubs, and highway systems that all behave differently depending on the time and direction that you are driving. One person may leave Alpharetta at 7 a.m. heading down Georgia 400 toward Buckhead and spend a big part of their week in traffic. Another may live in Smyrna near I-75 and get to Cumberland in 15 minutes. A family in East Cobb, they might love this neighborhood, but if their kids have sports practices across town multiple nights a week, those drives start affecting dinner schedules, homework, stress levels, and how late everyone gets home during the week. This is where people moving to Atlanta get caught off guard. They look at a map and think, oh, that's only 20 miles. But Atlanta traffic is about much more than mileage. A route on I-85 feels different from Georgia 400. Georgia 400 feels different from I-20, and anything involving top end 285 can completely change depending on time of day. That is why locals do not just ask where you work. They ask what route you are taking, because the route, that tells the real story. A person who is commuting from, say, Roswell to Midtown 5 days a week is living a very different routine from someone working hybrid, say, near Perimeter Center just twice a week. People underestimate this during relocation planning because the house is easier to picture than the routine. Sometimes paying more to live closer to your daily life is worth it. Sometimes getting more space farther out makes sense. But before making a move, test the lifestyle, not just the house. Drive the route during real commute hours. Test school pickup timing. See how long it actually takes to get to the airport on a weekday, because in Atlanta, traffic eventually becomes part of your lifestyle. And the people happiest here are usually the ones who planned around their real week instead of a version of Atlanta they imagined on a map. What Atlanta really costs in 2026: lifestyle value, housing reality, and buyer strategy. The number that scares people is rarely the one on the listing. It is the number that shows up later. That monthly payment matters, but Atlanta has a way of sliding extra line items across the table after you have already started imagining where the sofa goes. Insurance, HOA fees, utilities, parking, lawn care repairs, moving costs, that random Lowe's run that somehow becomes a financial event. If a home sits farther from your daily orbit, add fuel, maintenance, parking, and the calendar space that you did not budget for. The National Low Income Housing Coalition frames affordability as more than housing alone. In real life, affordability is housing plus transportation plus time, because a lower payment does not feel like a win if the trade-off eats your week alive. The National Low Income Housing Coalition defines a household as cost burden when rent and utilities take more than 30% of income, which is the kind of benchmark that should make everyone slow down and run the full math. For someone coming from a higher cost market, Atlanta can still feel like the math finally gives them breathing room. You get a home office, a yard, privacy, maybe even a garage that does not require an emotional support checkbook. But if you have been watching prices in Fulton, Cobb, Gwinnett, or DeKalb, you already know the old Atlanta is cheap story needs a serious update. A person coming from Brooklyn, where I was born, may see opportunity. Someone already watching prices climb around Metro Atlanta may see the same number and give it a very respectful side eye. The payment is only the cover charge. The real story is the life attached to it. Lower payment but longer drive, higher HOA fee that does not actually remove work from your week. Updates that look simple until the roof, HVAC, drainage, and repair list start bossing your calendar around. Some houses do not need a vision board. They need a spreadsheet and somebody who knows when the pretty part is distracting you from the expensive part. For local sellers, this matters too. People relocating to Atlanta are comparing confidence, condition, presentation, location logic, commute reality, and whether the home feels clean, clear, and easy to understand, or like a project wearing good lighting. Pricing, prep, repairs, photography, and how the home shows online shape value before people ever step through the door. Comment cost if you want a separate breakdown on what people forget to budget for when moving to Atlanta, because the surprise expenses are usually not the ones that people expect. The cheaper house is not always the better deal. Sometimes the better deal protects your calendar, your cash flow, and your peace. Once the numbers stop yelling, the next choice gets personal fast. Rent first, buy right away, build new, or renovate without accidentally signing yourself up for a second job. Should you rent first, buy right away, build new, or renovate? One of the biggest mistakes people make when moving to Atlanta is assuming there is one smart way to do it. There is not. Renting first, buying right away, building new construction, and renovating are 4 completely different strategies, and the right choice depends on your timeline, budget, stress tolerance, and how certain you are about where you want to live. Renting first makes sense when your job, schedule, or preferred area still feels a little uncertain. Maybe you're deciding between city energy in Midtown, more space in the suburbs, or something in between. Renting gives you time to experience Atlanta through real routines instead of guesses. But it can also mean 2 moves, storage costs, overlapping expenses, and decision fatigue if you stay in limbo too long. Buying right away works best when the major pieces already feel clear. You understand your budget, your commute, and the areas that fit your lifestyle. At that point, waiting sometimes creates more stress than clarity, especially if you already know that you plan to stay for several years. This is why I highly recommend starting the process earlier than people think that they need to. So, if you are already watching videos like this, you are doing the right thing by researching ahead of time instead of making rushed decisions later. Sometimes a quick conversation can save people months of stress, because together we can help narrow down areas, talk through commute realities, and help you think through the move strategically before things start to feel overwhelming. New construction appeals to people who want modern layouts, updated systems, and fewer repair surprises early on. And around areas like Alpharetta, Lawrenceville, and other fast-growing suburban pockets, there are lots of opportunities, but people need to understand that the model home is the easy part. The real decision is in the contract details, upgrade costs, lot premiums, timelines, inspections, and resale potential down the road. Renovating is a completely different experience. Some people walk into an older home in places like Decatur or Marietta and they immediately see potential. Other people can see stress before they even make it past the kitchen. In both reactions, they're fair. Renovation is not just about design choices. It is budget discipline, contractors, permits, timelines, and making sure the investment still makes sense when the work is done. This is why the best decision is usually the one that matches how you actually operate under pressure, not the version of yourself that you imagine during a showing. Atlanta gives people a lot of ways to win, but the smoother moves usually happen when it matches the person making it. The Atlanta relocation game plan that keeps you from making expensive mistakes. The easiest Atlanta move is to regret is the one where the house goes first and the real plan comes running behind in stilettos. People start juggling financing, inspections, movers, utility setup, short-term housing, and the classic, wait, who is supposed to handle what? Right? Moment when everybody is already tired. Flip the order. Build the week before the house gets the final vote. Not the fantasy week, the real one. Office days, childcare timing, MARTA access, if transit matters, internet setup, and the daily friction points that quietly decide whether your move feels controlled or completely sideways. Run the real math before the excitement gets too loud. The payment is only the headline. Insurance, taxes, HOA rules, utilities, repairs, and the county you land in, whether Fulton, Cobb, Gwinnett, or DeKalb, can change the numbers or the logistics in ways that you want to understand early. Set the bench before deadlines start breathing down your neck. Local lender, inspector, insurance contact, movers, renovation help if the home needs work. This is not the moment to be finding a roofer from a Facebook comment section at 11:47 p.m. Nobody needs a 19-person group chat with 3 cousins giving opinions from states that they do not live in. You need the right person in the right seats before pressure takes over. The goal is not to make the move dramatic. The goal is to keep the move from getting dramatic. MARTA is a perfect example. Near transit sounds easy until the full trip includes the first mile, the last mile, parking, walking distance, transfers, and whether the schedule actually works for your day. Same with a home that looks affordable until the insurance quote, utility setup, or repair list starts raising its hand like, excuse me, I also live here. Pressure creates sloppy decisions. Order keeps pressure from grabbing the steering wheel. Drop Atlanta Plan in the comments if you want a follow-up video walking through a relocation timeline step by step. The best Atlanta move is not always the biggest house, the lowest price, or the area that everybody keeps repeating online. It is the move that still works after the moving truck leaves. Get the order right, and Atlanta, she will stop feeling like a pile of decisions and start feeling like a move that you can actually make with confidence. The house that wins online can still lose in real life. The smartest Atlanta move has to survive more than just pretty photos. It has to work when your schedule, your budget, your commute, and your daily routine start testing it. We covered why people are choosing Atlanta in 2026, what the lifestyle feels like, how the map changes everything, why traffic and cost need to be part of the decision, and how to choose between renting first, buying right away, building new, or renovating. I have seen people come in thinking that they only needed more house, and the better answer ended up being a smarter location, cleaner numbers, and fewer surprises. Guessing your way through Atlanta is expensive in all the ways that do not always show up on paper. The city will give you options. Your job is not to chase all of them. It is to choose the one that will not make you question your decisions every time traffic turns red. If you are planning to buy, sell, relocate, build, renovate, or invest in the Atlanta area, we are the real estate team of choice, and we would love to help you make that move with clarity and confidence. Call us, text us, or email us using the information in the description below. Watch the Moving to Atlanta, Georgia playlist next. I'm putting it on the screen now, so give that end screen a beat here so that you can either jump to the playlist or grab our contact information. Thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.